guys happen to be into heavy metal mayhem, horrifically scary occult magic, and tour buses from hell, leaning close to this conversation because this is exactly the kind of book that you guys are going to want to read. We are chatting today with none other than Nikki Noir and SC Mendes about their follow-up to Succubus, Corrosive Raven. So, Nikki, SC, thank you so much very much for being here, guys. Really appreciate this.
Oh, thank you for having us.
You bet. And to start things off with Corrosive Raven, even though it's the second book, it is in fact a prequel to the book that came before it, Succubus. I'm going to go back a little bit to the beginning. Would you guys maybe let us know how you first came to know of each other and each other's work, and how you came to eventually start to write together? Maybe.
Sure. Yeah. So we were definitely friends before we were co-writers. I knew I wanted to write, and I really think SC helped mold that dream into a reality, right? It was quite a few years ago. I had just gotten my bachelor's degree, and I was working in IT, and I was kind of at that crossroads that we sometimes come to, right? That you're like, what do I do now? Or what's the right path for me? And we were just having breakfast, and he was talking about his work, and I was like, that's what I want to do, And so I asked if he would be interested in writing together, and the rest is history.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the fact that we knew each other as friends is what made it work, because for me then, like, having these really bizarre ideas that we do, it wasn't strange. I don't know that I could just pitch some of these things to just an author that I've met online for a while. Like we've done, we all went up to, we had friends who went up to the Jerome Hotel once before. And so we're all just sitting there like, well, what would we do if we see a ghost? What would I say? Do you want to have a seance? And so it's like, it's just that those kind of fun talks that you have with your friends already put into like occult book form. So yeah, it was really nice.
That is awesome. And I know certainly SC meeting you at the AuthorCon in Virginia and then going out for supper with you too. I know how some of these conversations go off the rail and have fantastic ideas as a result of that. So, and I got to ask you as well, because on the front cover here, of course, if everybody can see this, it does say by SC Mendes presents with special guest Nikki Noir. But in Corrosive Ravens, you're both listed as the authors. So I'm just kind of wondering if that means that some demon from Succubus, maybe you set things right, cast a few spells and ordered you up front row and center with SC where, you clearly belong. Or if there's some other dark forces that altered your moniker this time around that wasn't there the first time around for Succubus.
Yeah, you could say that the demon commanded me to increase my role for this one. but no, really, SC pitched this book to me, and I loved the idea. We were at AuthorCon last year just talking about projects, and we decided to make the prequel. So I had gotten back into reading after a slow couple of years, and what had really pulled me back in were those, like, the really thick books, where you can just like peel every layer of a character until you know like their darkest parts. So that's really how I went into this one, is I just wanted to live that story with them.
Yeah, perfect.
I got a question though, because I had no idea. Like when I put the, SC Mendes presents Nikki Noir, how many people asked me that question? They were like, "Wait, so did you guys both do it, or did you just publish it?" And honestly, from my end, I just thought it was clever, because on a lot of the posters that we saw, it was always like some organizer presented. It's the headliner, Succubus, and then there was always an opener or a special guest. It's like at the time when I was thinking of designing it, I didn't have anything. But on my phone with the color, I don't know if you can see, but there's an old Slayer poster.
Right.
And that's where kind of the pinkish purple, I was like, hey, we should make it look like an old poster. And that's why it also says what the Backseat Tour, right? 2006, I think it says.
Yes, you got it.
And so many people have asked me that too. Like, is that the name of the book, or is it Succubus? And so a lot of what I thought was clever, didn't work at all. So I'm glad the demons talked to Nikki and fixed it for... and I have one. They just came in. So
that's gorgeous. I'm so glad you have that, because online it looks
just
great.
Came in today for the pre-order, so we'll be signing and shipping them out.
That is the demons at work. They were ready for you today, so that is awesome. So maybe I made a sacrifice of my own to make that happen. But if anybody asks, I have an alibi, so you can't pin that on me. But for folks who have read this book and think that they might know what to expect of Corrosive Raven, even though it is listed as a prequel, what would you tell them?
So I guess for mine, and I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but focus on those, reread the last 4 chapters. So if someone, visited the world back when it first came out in like 2023, read like the last 4 chapters, because as you know, there's going to be some kind of twist. I don't think that's a surprise. I think that's something I always am trying to put in to stuff. And for me, I would say don't expect a conclusion to that story. Expect more of an explanation. So maybe why the twist happened, and why the mothers are the way they are. Well, and one more thing too, you need to, you're going to learn something about baboons and their testicles. I'm going to stop there. That's what I think they should expect.
Thank God. I don't know how many books I've read thinking, chasing down the answer of my lack of understanding on baboon testicles. And every time I put a book down, I think, not this book, maybe the next one will answer my curiosity. So thank you.
Yeah, well,
Nikki,
shoot all this down, but I this is the scene I wanted. I don't know how many times I told you, Nikki. I was like, I'm really proud of this scene. I don't know why. I don't know if anyone's gonna really understand what I'm seeing in my mind. So we got like an artist do some artwork, which I'll share with you later. But yeah, I really love this scene, and I appreciate you for letting me keep it in.
Okay, baboon testicles, Nikki. How do you follow that?
I don't think I can follow that. But just to reiterate his point, it really reframes everything that you thought you knew. Like Succubus is Lisa's story. You saw the mothers through her eyes as an outsider, and with Corrosive Ravens, you really peel back the veil and show how they come together. So it'll be impossible to look at Succubus the same way after reading Corrosive Ravens.
Yeah. Why did you instead decide to go back to the beginning and create a prequel as opposed to go right into a potential sequel?
I mean, I think there was just too much history to leave unwritten, right? We just had to find a way to give that background, and uncover all of it before we could move forward with the next book. And we do have a 3rd book planned too. It'll be a little bit different, push things forward in a way that kind of gives the reins to the reader, choose your own adventure type. But
that's exciting. And is there any ideas of when you want that 3rd one to come out?
Oh man, with my speed, I really don't know. Right? I want it to be soon. I think with the 3rd one, what we'll do is it will bring a conclusion to what you're about to read, Rick, with Succubus too. And it's going to be called Slay Her. Because as you probably already read, they started off with a cover band where they did all Slayer songs and they were all female. And that comes to there was an all-female band here in Arizona that is where I got the idea of that aspect a little bit.
That's cool.
But yeah, I think you're going to see that. And you know how there's the choose your own adventure little pieces in,
right,
but they're not actual in that one. And this one, they're going to be like actually literally you can choose a little bit. So we're going to have more. There's going to be 2 different ways things can go. So I think it's going to be very exciting. And like Nikki said, I'm the same way. Like, I think we kind of try to even set this up as like almost like a VH1 behind the scenes sometimes. Like, okay, there's this famous band. You do want to know how they started. You always want to hear about the days on Hollywood Boulevard, right? Just eating French fries and everyone's stuck in the van. How did they make it? You only see them as this. So, and I'm really big on that too. Learning the perspective of the mothers. So yeah.
Perfect. Well, I am very much looking forward to it. I can't wait to get into Corrosive Raven. Like I said, I'm a very slow reader. This took me no time at all, so it's nice to know that there's something else waiting for me when I get off of this particular tour bus. And speaking of tour bus, speaking of bands, speaking of Slayer, all kinds of music, clearly music is, throughout history, it's certainly gone hand in hand with a lot of the great horror stories we've come up to love. I mean, everything from Anne Rice's Vampire Lestat, Alice Cooper, of course, original shock rocker and all of his antics, to having some haunting scores that really made scary movies. It elevated them to become even scarier. And obviously, nobody can forget that oiled up sax guy from Lost Boys. Music has always just been such a great way to elevate horror when it's paired really well, which I think you've really done here. And I would love to learn how, your relationship, Nikki and SC, with music might have shaped your own creativity when you were coming up with these stories, and also to maybe hear your thoughts on how you feel that it can be a very effective part of storytelling. You centered this entire book around the powers of music, even if that music is just in our heads as we're reading your stories.
Yeah, so for me, music has always been a really big part of my life. I can still remember being like 13 or 14 years old, and all I wanted for Christmas was this Nirvana collector's box set. It was a $60 box set, it was big money. And naturally, Santa delivered, but I also got a Kurt Cobain t-shirt that had his suicide note on the back of it, which, by the way, I've not been able to find that shirt since then. I can't find it on eBay. I don't know, but it was really cool. And honestly, just like the note on the back of the shirt, I felt like a sad little sensitive Pisces, which is something he says in his suicide note, though I wasn't unappreciative. But something about that just really got into my head, and I just started writing. So it was poems and lyrics and short stories, and I published all of it to my secret Zanga page back then. But thinking back, it was probably just me trying to process all of that darkness. So that point in my life was really pivotal. It was my first real intro into rock, and it sent me down a path. The next band I really got into was Avenged Sevenfold, and what stuck with me for them was the piano in rock, and songs like Warmness on the Soul. It was like that beauty and brutality all at once. Even now, I still can't write without instrumental piano rock. Every single time that I write, I have my instrumental piano rock music from Spotify on. That's so just to bring it back. That's why in Corrosive Ravens, it's not just the background. It's really what drives everything.
Yeah, that's amazing. What about yourself, SC? How did you see music fit into this, and how do you feel that it can really make even a written story that much more elevated with the music connotations throughout it?
Yeah, I guess you think about it so much in movies, because I'm assuming you guys have both seen, when you take a horror movie trailer, if you cut the sound and put in different music, suddenly it's it's a comedy now, or it's a romance. I've seen The Shining redone as a romance. And music can do that, right? You put a kind of music in it changes the person entirely. So I think it's highly effective in that it stirs those centers in your brain, like the limbic system. And you think about memories and feelings, and you can really change a person just in music. As you were saying, Nikki was talking about the Nirvana. I'm sure when there are certain songs you hear, you remember that was huge. I want to say it was 96. I can't remember, but everyone had a shirt the sun is gone, but I have a light. And right. Music at that time, I think, I'm going to ramble a bit, but I think it was really something that was culturally bonding, because we had shows like MTV. And so we were all seeing the same type of news reports on music. We had Lollapalooza, the same bands were going everywhere. It was interesting. I watched an interview with Weird Al the other day, and he had just mentioned that. He goes, I really don't make a lot of spoofs anymore, because there's not music like there used to be. Not that the music today isn't good, but there are some mega stars like your Taylor Swifts that everybody seems to know. But for the most part, music now is so niche, and you can go anywhere to listen to it and consume it. There's not that group, cohesion that we all talk about. When you go from the age of 35 to 45, you all kind of know the same stuff. Yeah. And so I think that really factored into why we wanted to set it. Succubus is in the 2007 about era, and Corrosive Ravens is back to 1998, because I think that was really a big feel. So that was part of what I wanted to touch on. And I think when you're trying to do songs, at least for us, we do drop the names of songs sometimes, but if someone doesn't know that song, it doesn't always connect with them. And so sometimes, since you're reading Succubus, you've already gotten to it, but the dream paralysis with the little pig, let me come in. Right. That actually was kind of like a feeling with the wolf. And you ever listen to Sam and the Pharaoh's Little Red Riding Hood?
No.
It was no? Okay. You're going to see that. So it wouldn't really connect with you, but it's a creepy song that's kind of a little sexualized and creepy, but it came out in I want to say the 60s or 70s. And you know how those songs didn't seem creepy, or even Winger 17? but they kind of are. They're really creepy and weird. So if you can like take the tone of that, so that way if you drop a song reference and someone doesn't know it, you've still created the sense of what the music gives you, if that makes sense. So if I can create a scene together that invokes the same feeling that song gave me when I listened to it, I think it's effective like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know even some of the songs in there that I'm like, well, I haven't heard of that one. I'm not really familiar with that. Whereas some of the other ones, of course, that you allude to, obviously Ozzy, which I mean, we could have a whole episode on that. Maybe we should sometime. Just thinking about that camaraderie. I mean, you'd see somebody with, an Iron Maiden shirt. I'm like, oh, you listen to Maiden too. Next, you're best friends and you're at the bar, you're going to concerts together, and you've got a new best friend. Whereas like now it's not so much like that. So, and I found that worked really well in the book too, to kind of transport me, at least. And I think that'll do for other readers like me, that'll transport them right to that place and time and that frame of mind and that mood. So it certainly takes certain personalities to be able to write well together. I think that you could put, two fantastic authors together, and you're going to be able to say, this person wrote that, this person wrote that. There's not really that cohesiveness. I couldn't find a line in the sand throughout this book. So maybe Nikki, I can ask you first. What about your style and how you felt it would pair well with SC's style, would mesh well together? What made you confident your two styles would be that cohesive gel that could make one singular badass story?
Yeah, I mean, I think we just, we both kind of write the weird and unusual that maybe other people don't think to write. And so I think that's kind of what it's all about, right? It's just kind of getting out there and exploring different things.
I will say that I think that was very helpful. More than a style for me, it was that ability to have freedom with sharing an idea. Like I said, I don't know that I'd be as comfortable mentioning some of these things to just a regular person.
Right.
You're a regular person, but what I mean is, like you said, you can meet somebody, Iron Maiden shirt, and you're totally connected. Yeah. The friends that you've had for years and you were younger, you just kind of could sit on the couch and have that moment where everyone's drinking and you say the weird, wild thing and they're okay with it and becomes a discussion. And I really think that's where it is, because our styles, I do think a lot of them are different. And I think the behind the scenes, I'll let you talk on it, but I know there's something about me that would drive you nuts, because it drives me nuts in my own personal writing. that was hard. And so I think it's us circling over and over again. And sometimes we'll do a scene many, many times before it actually looks like what you see on the page. Yeah. Is there a big obstacle that you would say, Nikki, with writing with me? I'll see if it's the same one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, now's your time to throw some shade here, Nikki.
It's the fact that you're a pantser and I'm a plotter, and so that just makes it so hard, because he has this vision and it's all in his head and he doesn't verbalize it all the time. So I'm just trying to read his mind and also trying to get my facts straight.
There'll be like emails like that. I'd be like, look, I'm so sorry, but I just thought about it and there's no way that can work. And you got to change it. And so like after she's written like this whole thing, I'm like, look, it was a good idea, but what if instead of it being this person, it's this character? And now it'll be great. And so it's frustrating, but I have literally written, and it's easier when I'm not working with someone, like a whole storyline. There's whole other stories that are just completely gone. I've had books that have a romance plotline in it and they're just gone. Multiple characters, they just disappear. So I've written like 6 books in the time it's taken me to write one. And I know that's the hardest thing, because I'll like circle it, I call it like circumambulation. And each time, I see a little bit more and I see a little bit more. And so I think that's what it is. And that's got to be the most frustrating, because you have whole notebooks you showed me on like how everything's going to go.
Yeah. But I think the communication, though, is key. Like, we're really good at communicating, and I don't know if we would have been able to be successful if we weren't so good at that. And kind of just like we had, it was constant emails and texts and comments even in our document, without those things, I don't know if we could have gotten through it. Like, I think that helped a lot.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, it's funny because as soon as you started talking about the process and the big contrast between never really knowing exactly what SC is thinking all the time until you threw in the solution, which is, of course, the clear communication. I'm originally thinking that there's a lot of therapists that make a lot of money on relationships built just like yours that don't have that communication. So that's awesome that you guys were able to. That was the balancer, the equalizer, I guess, if you will, in this writing relationship.
No one else would have put up with it. I haven't attempted it with anybody else. I don't.
Yeah. But on the other hand, though, too, SC, like, did you find that was there anything about working with a plotter that frustrated you, where you thought, well, this isn't linear? What if everything changes by the time we get there? Or did you look at Nikki's process as a bit of a cheat code for your own?
Yeah, so definitely afterwards, when we started talking about this third book, like now it has to happen, I took a lesson, and I haven't really sent her any notes yet because I'm making an outline. And this is very, very tough for me. And I want everyone to know that I'm trying to grow as a writer and as a human being. So it is influencing me. And I would have to say that having her has cut down on a lot of times I have to circle, because once she puts a character in that scene, I'm like, oh, that is really good. That's the way it should be. I can just stop. A lot of times I can stop. Yeah. It wasn't like every time I'm like, no, this character has to change. So it did help me out a lot. And having that person to bounce stuff off, it's almost like having your alpha and beta readers like with you the whole time. And so that's really nice too. But yeah, I have taken that. Definitely my communication and trying to be more clear about it and trying to give what I see in my head is what I've taken from it. And I do hope that I've done better since then. And I think I'm getting better at it. But I learned that, I would say.
It was kind of funny too, like in the very beginning, we had this Zoom call and he's like, this is what I think. And, we kind of exchanged ideas, and it went like a completely not completely different direction, but things went quite astray. So
a little off the rails, huh?
I'll just say that I'm jealous of everyone who is a pantser. I wish that I was that person. I feel like it's hard to outline everything and to plan it all out before you write, but it's how my brain works. It's the only way.
I think you can put more books out that way. Like, I don't know. She's really turning me on to this idea. So I'm going to start doing this more and more, and we'll see. Because if my productivity picks up, because I spend a lot of time, not thinking this stuff out ahead. So I would say I'm definitely testing it for sure.
That's awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing how that impacts the rest of your books. So, and you as a person.
Yes, always growing.
Got to keep going. While I was reading the Succubus, for as over the top, I mean, there's some absolutely bonker scenes that are in here, things that I felt a little bit of shame even laughing at or thinking back on and reflecting and trying to digest, what does this really mean? Because it also meant that I had to put those pictures of those images of the scenes back into my head again. It goes into some pretty intense places, but there's also a lot of heart in this too. How important, Nikki and SC, how important do you feel it is to insert a certain level of humanity into the mixes of something that is really an over-the-top bonker story?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's so important to interject that humanity to keep it grounded. Then you have characters you can actually empathize with. Like I had said, I got a bachelor's degree in psychology, and so I'm super interested in the human mind. And so I don't know, I like to ensure that, when you're reading something, you're right there in it with that person. I love books that put me in that position. So that's really how I like to write.
For me, excuse me, I think I love blending the two. Obviously, we like the occult stuff. We've been talking all about that. It's not like just a rabbit hole I fall down sometimes. I think people that know me will attest, like, I live there, and a part of real like occult would be more like this idea of alchemy, and so I enjoy looking at these like just bizarre, as you said, think like, is magic, is this really, could this be, are there these entities around us? So not just that, but at the same time, then how can we use that to show something very heartfelt by the end? And, I will say that I think it's been both a blessing and a detriment, as everything with life, because I think people won't pick up Succubus, as you said. It looks very silly. It's a totally cheesy gimmick, but isn't that heavy metal? Like that's so much what it is. It's ridiculous, but it's yet so deadly serious at the same time. And we've dedicated our lives to this. You know, we wore the shirts for years. We become best friends just because we both know the trooper, right? And so it's, for me, it's like the best compliment. And I think one of our stories that gets it all the time, more than Succubus, is Cucumbers and Comforters. People are like, this is the most weird, bizarre story. There's that anal ripping creature in it, but like, it's really sweet at the end. And people are shocked by how like touching and the friendship that's formed in there between two of the characters. And I think that's the ultimate compliment. But a lot of people won't read it. And so the people that want, you know, the anal ripping monsters and the demons just sucking Succubus, it's not enough for them because sometimes it's too sweet. And then for the people that might appreciate that ending, they're like, what? There's no way I could possibly read this. And so I think we have a weird niche thing that we've tackled onto with this new adult occult genre. And so that's why I love it. I like using the two sides and shocking people, you know.
Yeah, and it works really well because, you know, as much as I love to watch a good slasher and, you know, lots of great kill scenes and, oh my God, I can't believe they got away doing that on television or in a book or a scene or anything. It's nice as well when you have something that's a bit more resonating, like what you guys have done, certainly with Succubus, and what I'm certain that you probably continued with in Corrosive Ravens, is that when all these awful, horrible, over-the-top, bonkers things are happening to these characters, you actually give a crap. And through some of those weird things that they're going through, I found myself also kind of stretching my own perspectives and thinking, not only being able to relate to some of that, but also thinking, well, what would I do in that situation? You know, compared to this character, that I have an understanding of what their motivations and things are, because you've actually taken the time to set up their motivations rather than just simply lining them up and, you know, chopping them down, so to speak. So I thought it was a really cool balance in there.
Thank you.
So, and obviously with the heart, as you alluded to there, as well as there's a lot of occult stuff that goes on, a lot of very, you know, kinky, over the top, bloody, gory mayhem that goes on. Certainly as it's involved in this tour bus and this, you know, the cult of the succubus themselves and the mothers that make you think that they're just there to show you a good time, but meanwhile they're there to show you a. I'll leave it at that. I can only imagine, and you mentioned before that it's not necessarily a rabbit hole that you go down, SC, but between yourself and you, Nikki, certainly being having a degree in psychology, everybody knows that if you want to ask a random question, chances are a writer's going to know about it because they research everything. But how much occult research did you guys go into to get ready for Succubus? And I'm curious to know, you know, I'm sure that it was just a whole plethora of awesome, fascinating tidbits that maybe didn't even make it into this book yet.
Oh, man. Yeah, I feel like I want to let you go first, Nate, because I don't know if I tell you things and you just go along with them sometimes and make them like better, or if you're actually into this stuff. So I'm always curious, too. I know our conversation.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, I would say, it kind of started when I was a teen, and I don't know if I would call it practicing magic, but maybe more like kid witchcraft. But I burned things, I cast some spells, so that curiosity it never left me. So I've just always been interested in this type of stuff. So I'll just randomly do research even before this, these books. I just like it.
Perfect.
Yeah. For me, I think it too, right? When the craft came out, I think we mentioned it in Corrosive Ravens. We used this scene, everyone does it. They buy the Ouija board. They want to have one night where they try to do a spell and will it work? And then most people, I guess, I would say they grow out of it and they almost like grow out of magic entirely. And again, I'm only speaking for me. And then, so I guess at around the age of around 33, something happened where I was a very, it's something my aspect that I add to Corrosive Ravens is part of this aspect of being almost atheistic and how nihilism and things like that can really just defeat a person. And I think people discover the occult kind of when they're on the brink of that. Things aren't really working out great. And they're like, you know what, at this stage, life just doesn't seem to make sense. I will do anything to get better. And I don't care if that means, you know, burning candles. If this side isn't working, I'll go to the quote unquote dark side, right? And so I was just fascinated by that. And I would say that studying all this stuff really helped me out. And I don't know, if you ask my wife too, I don't know where the line is drawn where I think they're just interesting theories, or I really think there are things right now listening to us. But one of the things in Succubus that I think we hit home was that music they're magic spells, aren't they?
Absolutely.
I mean, we go there and we get so into the music and whatever it is, people are just bopping, and the singer can say something and suddenly 2,000 people are jumping in unison, or they're chanting in unison. He says the word and they've all got lighters out. He is, in essence, or she is casting a spell on you, and you are doing everything they're saying. But it's not negative, because you want that energy exchange, right? Like you're saying, yes, it's consensual. And so it's fascinating to me to see how people can cast spells on you and you consent to it, but almost in a hypnotic type way. And you don't really want to. So all that stuff, like the magic, is really fascinating to me. And so I'm reading it constantly, and I'll like send stuff to her and be like, oh my gosh, have you heard about this? I'll say, oh, this is a bad month. You don't want to, these are the 3 dark months. You never do anything in the 3 dark months. And I'll try to find where it's alluded to. And I don't really take credit for any of these ideas. I tell my friends, I'm like, dude, I get all this from like these ancient texts. I'm reading the Zohar. I'm looking into these civilizations under the ground. They're not from David Icke. You know, if you know that guy, the reptilian guy, they're so much older, so much older. And I love that stuff. And
it fascinates me too. Like, get me on this mailing list of yours.
yeah.
No,
so I'll stop there, but like I'm into it. I'm committed, because the world is a very weird place to me. What people tell us, science as it stands, actually, I think science proves all the occult science better than people realize, because atoms and molecules, they're these weird things that are, you know, you can't measure them until you see them, and quantum entanglement. So I think it actually supports, you know, spirituality and mysticism way more than people think. And so I love finding that blending of science and like almost religion and spirituality. That's what
that kind of stuff that sort of puts a you know, a probable cause or probable, on the other end, probable delta into things. And you even mentioned that in Succubus as well, where there's you have a magician in there, or an occultist, an occult expert, we'll call him, I guess. You know, kind of in there, and he talks about that, about science, how it proves a lot of this kind of stuff too. And I'm sure Nikki, like, certainly has a degree, that stuff's just got to be fascinating, because there's certainly two sides of it. I mean, you can go to, say, a Black Sabbath concert because you get sucked in on the, you know, the showmanship of it all. You know, you got Ozzy, especially that first album that came out. You think, what is this kind of dark demonic stuff? Maybe you're going through a horrible time in your life and you want to make sense of this darkness, so you get attracted to it, maybe to understand it more, to think that that's where you belong. And then, at least in the case of a lot of Sabbath songs and Ozzy in general, next you know, you're getting all this subliminal positive messaging, you know, about living in the world and fighting with all your foes, and you know, trying to forget how to hate, learning how to love, and, you know, kind of dispelling satanic rituals and darkness and that. And you're like, wait a minute, the tables have turned. I came here for the dark stuff, not to have it flipped around on me and make it think like, oh, so you're actually opposing the dark stuff? Well, I guess I'm in now, so there's no turning back. And I think in a moment too, you guys are going to have a couple of samples to read out as well, to give folks a bit of a sense of what they can expect. So maybe before we talk a little bit more about Corrosive Raven, I'm not sure who wants to go first, if maybe if you guys have sections that comes before the other, or if that would be too obvious once you pick up the book. Or
oh, that's a good point. I forget which section you're actually reading. Mine's in part 2, chapter 4.
Yeah, mine's part 1, chapter 3. So I think mine comes first.
You should go first. She should go first.
Cool. No, I feel like we're reading gospel here. You know, chapter 1.
We do have a character who does a lot of like gospel reading, and he's actually the villain. That one was more my influence for sure. Yeah.
Very cool. Maybe tell us a little bit about the passage that you're going to read, Nikki, and then I think we'll flip the table over to you, SC.
Yeah. So the passage I'm going to read is really about Tanya, and I don't want to give too much away, But I felt like this one really just spoke to her character and kind of what she's all about. So that's why I chose this one.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Should I start? Cool.
Take it away. You got it.
Okay. Great. Tanya lay on a bed of silk webs. They clung to her without discomfort, gently swaying her like a hammock. Each move of her limbs sent a ripple through the taut threads, vibrating them with sound. A haunting tune emanated from the web, stretching across the black sky, connecting stars in the vast expanse. A skittering melody preceded a large dark form appearing from the abyss. The gentle rocking of the web swelled to jerky bouncing. Tanya thrashed to free herself from the threads, but there was no more give than a stiff rubber band. She gritted her teeth to stop the tremors and recited the mantras to build strength. The form of a giant spider defined itself against the darkness. Tanya bit her tongue, cutting off the shriek. Sigurd's research attributed to no physical form to amuse. Was she somehow in the metaphysical dimensions of the tunnels beneath the tree? Perhaps this is one of the gatekeepers Sigurd cautioned about. What if their sacrifice had not been pleasing and this was her punishment? Closer in the creature's face and torso were that of a woman, sleek and black. Beneath firm tits, her human stomach began its transition into a furry abdomen, ending in a sharp point. Thick, arachnid legs bore her across the web. Whatever's happening, it's a test. Sacrificing fear calmed her muscles and the sticky web relaxed some. The entities of this realm were reported to treat travelers according to their confidence. I am Tanya Artel. I desire the infernal keys. She directed her thoughts at that creature. Through my work with Corrosive Ravens, I will give physical life to the dreams of the musical notes. The vibrating ceased, and the Spider-Woman loomed above her. Are you the muse? Tanya trembled. My lord has heard your prayer, the Spider-Woman said. Your sacrifice is pleasing to him. I will accompany your mission. We will praise you and your master. Relief nearly brought tears to her eyes. I bless you by emptying you. Fangs sprouted from the Spider-Woman's chiseled mouth, and she pierced Tanya's skin. Tanya stifled her squeal and writhed the line between pain and pleasure. Soon she could not feel either. Ounce by ounce, the spider goddess drained her, then wrapped her cold limbs in a cocoon. From beneath the thick casing, she heard the muffled whisper, "Now you can be filled." Tanya woke in their bedroom alone. She was still fuzzy to reality when the firmament opened. Images, scenes, and words flooded into her. Frantic to not interrupt the experience, she flailed for her notebook on the nightstand without focusing her eyes on anything but the visions. Her pen moved across the pages before she had an understanding of the ideas, transferring them from the stream of consciousness to scrawled ink. Somehow, a sixth sense knew when she was nearing the end of the page, and just as automatically she flipped to the next sheet and continued. Gothic scenes played in her mind, lyrics, art, locations. Then Tanya was shown her past. The men, the drugs, a bird's-eye view of her path. All of it sensed without words, a silent film playing in her mind, an understanding, a knowing. The transmission slowed, and her hand seized, fingers curling inward like claws, the channel of communication severing completely. Tanya collapsed to the bed, using her left hand to flatten out the gnarled fingers of her right. Here, Sigurd stepped from the shadows with a glass of water. Fuck, she startled. How long have you been watching me? It's been almost half an hour, he said. I want to know everything. What happened? I think that was communion with the muse. It was amazing. The aching sinews and tendons eased, and she was able to flip through the pages of art and musings. If she hadn't experienced it herself, Tanya would have never believed that much could be channeled in just 30 minutes. She wasn't creative. Art brought beauty to her life, but until this morning, the only thing she'd contributed to the world of music and art was the pleasure she brought lead singers. How do you feel? He asked. Amazing. Tanya lay back down on the bed, trying to remember getting home. Her eyes settled on flecks of blood under her fingernails, and her senses opened to a deeper layer of awareness. At the molecular level, she tasted coppery blood. The campfire smoke still coated her lungs, and burnt pig lingered on her skin. Memories flooded in another supernal download, Brad's warm flesh under hers. Me and the guys feel good too. We were jamming until I came to check on you. How close do you suppose our inspiration will align with yours? Guess we'll find out, she said. What happens now? For now, we need 10 new songs. After that, I don't know. The next move will be shown to us when we're ready, but I do know that hesitation is death. We need to start right away. Well, you better get to it, she said, handing him the journal. Use whatever you can. Make me famous. Yes, my queen. He cradled the journal like a newborn. Consider starting a second journal for your observations. Every worthy occultist documents their path to avoid mental confusion. Reality is going to change quickly. The tunnels can become unsolvable labyrinths to the ignorant. Dear diary, she teased. Yesterday I chopped off a man's cock and balls as an offering to one of Satan's princes. I drank his blood, and it was the most fun I've had in a long time. Something like that. He caressed her face. Rest, my dark mother. We'll get started on your material right away.
Oh, that is awesome. Oh, that's great. I'm in. Oh, that's fantastic.
Oh, that one actually flows like really well, I think, with the scene I picked, and I swear we didn't really do that.
This is why you write together.
Yeah, that it does make sense, because I'm like, pick whatever you feel most comfortable with, and I'll pick mine. So mine, as you kind of heard, they did a ritual, obviously did something really bad, and that, because everyone always says, oh, we sacrifice ourselves for, to be successful. So how does it actually work? And so that's kind of what we came up with, this download from a muse. We'll come to you. So jumping forward from that, let's see. I'll set the stage with this. Where they committed the ritual and they did something to this guy so they could get access to the music, that place was discovered, and somebody knows what they did. And they are now going to blackmail them. And basically this band, Corrosive Ravens, has to play on a tour that someone who I won't tell you, because I don't know if you got that in Succubus yet, is basically going to force them to go on tour and do the tour that they want them to do. And while they're on that tour, they're going to make some promo videos and stuff like that. So there's this really creepy villain. His name is Lobo, and he is going to film and interview them on their tour bus now as they're going somewhere. And so it's Sigurd, as she was saying, Tanya, and there's one other band member on it.
Fantastic. Yeah, this definitely sounds like the music industry, all right.
Sounds about right? A lot of manipulation.
You got it.
So yeah. All right. So who is this dark composer you give so much credit to? Lobo asked from behind the camera. A demon? The kitchen table was folded down in the tour bus. Lobo sat on one side, and the band sat on the other bench seat across from him. Sigurd in the middle, Tanya on his left hand, and Nico at his right. He is the deity of infernal music, Sigurd said with theatrical flair that reeked of a horror host on late-night cable. It probably gave him a boner explaining this way. He is the conductor of 83 muses, our master, the originator of all destructive sympathies from the dawn of time, and every performance connects attendees to the dimension of his abode. Is that why you want the pig's blood for ritual invoking? Lobo asked, seeming unfazed by Sigurd's spiel. Of course. Blood is the most energetic fluid next to semen. Sigurd glared at the camera as if trying to hypnotize Lobo through the lens. That's why religions forbid drinking it or eating live animals. Blood makes a person bold and wild, difficult to control. It's very pagan. That's the reason Abrahamic women are considered unclean when menstruating. Your leaders wouldn't want you rebelling against society's control after earning your Red Wings. Tanya puffed her cigarette to stop from smiling. Smoke filled the bus. Unlike Lobo, Cabral's mouth hung open in the rear mirror. Cabral is the person driving the van while Lobo films them. You don't care much for religion, do you? Lobo said. We do not care for religions that enslave the masses through fear-mongering, Sigurd said. The Pope is more evil than us, though few see it that way. Evil's a matter of perspective, Lobo said. Indeed. The way Sigurd smirked at the camera chilled Tanya. The only thing more destructive to man than organized religion is atheism. No one succeeds in life without the blessing of either an infernal or heavenly angel. And now that I know that truth, I choose the tunnels. The tunnels? Is that like the name of your religion? There are many attempts to label what we are. The theistic Satanists, dark occultists. Like our master, one label will not do. It is not sufficient. Sigurd chuckled, shifting back into the sportsmanship of Vincent Price. The truth is that numberless worlds and gods surround us. These entities and dimensions, invisible to our eyes, influence this world like nations on a continent. Every culture for thousands of years knew this, and each prayed to their own deities for protection and prosperity. The idea of atheism is a relatively new ploy just to weaken humanity. The true goal in life is to find the strongest god and align with them to accomplish your desire, just like a gang member would do. When the biggest boss wins, you win. Sigurd winked. The Satan is our god, the dark composer is our master, and his muse is the infernal angel who never leaves our side. That's beautiful in a way, Lobo said. He seemed nothing like the driver Cabral or Eddie. Eddie's dead, Tanya thought. Don't forget that. Then the camera shifted to Nico. You believe all this too? Santanas, Nico saluted with his beer, but his words were lackluster. And then the camera focused on Tanya. Despite Sigurd's rousing speech, the lens was not as energizing as the faces of her fans, and she was nervous. She tried to hear the muse over her nerves to hear what to say. Satan is our only god I want. He's the master who feeds us when we feed him. And we are the 1%ers, Sigurd said. The upcoming album, Tunnels Beneath the Tree, will invite listeners to join us. 1%ers? That's correct, Sigurd said. You won't find true black magic woven into the bands like Chagall and obscene ones. They're atheistic posers of the worst sort. LaVey Satanists. Pathetic. For most of these profane artists, it's all an act. These interdimensional entities are real, though. Like Black Widow said, if you feed them, they will feed you. If you don't understand them, though, they will just feed off you. The bus pulled into a parking lot. Without a word, Cabral opened the door and stepped outside. Tanya looked out the window. It was a FedEx workshop. By the way, they were going to the FedEx to make flyers for the upcoming show. Go with them, Lobo said to Sigurd. Do what you need. Tanya and I will continue the interviews, and I'll eventually get to everyone one-on-one. Sigurd narrowed his eyes, and there was a moment of panic, and then the muse calmed her. I'm not as entertaining as Sigurd, she said, and the name's Black Widow. My humblest apologies, Lobo bowed his head. Sigurd smirked, and she was glad to have earned his trust in that moment. Well, have fun, he said, and he took her notebook and all of the flyers and artwork for the promos, and waving Nico to follow him. Lobo watched them leave, then turned to her with a sense of curiosity for the first time. It's good to be alone with you finally. You must be the 1% of the 1%. And don't forget it. She took a drag off the cigarette. How could I? The camera did not move. The red light continued to blink. Tell me, how you met this dark composer, your master. What brought you from poser to believer? The Black Widow's venom slowed her pulse, and her focused her thoughts again. Interviews were a dance. Sigurd knew the steps well, and she needed to channel his type of energy. Years of abuse, Tanya said, careful of her words. When your parents don't give a fuck about the baby they created, it makes it difficult to believe in the loving God mega churches preach about. Atheism was all that made sense to me. Demons and witchcraft were entertaining, and putting conservative panties in a bunch helped pass the time. But it was Sigurd who eventually got us to believe in the spirit world and to enter into a pact with them. Yes, but what convinced you, he said, genuine curiosity hanging on his words. She stared into the past, unblinking until the smoke burned her eyes. One day, I'd had enough. The shit had to end, and anything was worth a try, even the occult, success or death. Off the record, he set the camera down and turned it off, and lowered his voice. Do you believe that killing that man really fed the devil, and he is rewarding you with success? Or was killing him easier than killing yourself? Her pulse thundered. I don't know what you're talking about. She couldn't admit this on camera. The camera's off, Lobo replied softly. This is only for me. Who the hell are you, Lobo, huh? Who's the god you bow to besides Dominic? If she let him bully her this first time, then it would never end. You might be surprised who my master is, Lobo said. Perhaps you should meet him. Are you threatening me? You misunderstand. You and I have a lot in common. The raven, Lobo the wolf. No, we don't. I'm a unicorn. Indeed, he said. I searched long for you. His voice loosened to memory like photos falling from an envelope. I'm not the one, she said, watching the response in his face for confirmation. Are you sure? He asked plainly. Tell me, she said, off the record. Did Icarus' death give you a boner? There's no need for us to be at odds, Lobo kept himself composed. We need to be friends. The raven and the wolf. We can help each other. The legendary murder pact. Let us work together. It's time to leave, the muse whispered into her ear. That's crows. A murder is of crows. Tanya snuffed out the cigarette and stood. And I don't need your help. I have the muse. She smiled, feeling his hungry eyes, and she walked off the bus to join them at the FedEx.
Damn. You guys have absolutely upped the ante in this one.
Woo!
Oh, I cannot wait. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad that it hits home with people. So yeah, that is, but already right there, you're probably hearing a name from Succubus already.
Yep.
People that have read it, they're gonna know. But yeah, so that's kind of, they're stuck in this blackmail situation, and so they're making the best of it. Yeah.
As it's important to do in that situation. No, that is fantastic. And where and when can people pick up a copy of Corrosive Ravens right now?
Funny that you should ask. You know how sometimes I wake up and just say, sorry, I have an idea sometimes.
Yeah.
I think I texted like 2 days ago. So the book just came in, and we're going to sign it for everybody and start sending them out to people that pre-ordered. But you know what I found out? There's a black moon on August 23rd. I think some people call it a blue moon. It's like the second new moon in one season.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I know you think I'd know more about it, but don't worry. Rest assured, I'll find this out, because as soon as I read that a black moon was coming, I was like, hey, this is pretty cool. I think we should release the book early. So if anyone pre-ordered it, they're suddenly going to get it under the black moon, which is Saturday. So yeah.
That is so cool. And then if we never hear from them again,
the new demon got them.
Yeah, you got it.
Which I have to say, I give props. Nikki came up with that, because one of the things we did in the first book was we used actual names. And I think that was a mistake that I would go back and change. And I would say that out loud now. I wouldn't do that again. And I think you came up with a very cool imaginary dark master, the dark composer.
That is very cool. Yeah. And that way it's 100% your own too. And then, rules, The only rules that apply are the ones that you give it. So
Exactly.
Yeah. No restrictions, no rules. I love it. Total mayhem, as a good 80s styled rock and roll occult book should be. Sorry, I'm pointing this up because it's the only one I have. I need to.
Nobody really has it. A couple arcs went out, some old arcs went out, but yep, Corrosive Ravens, and we tried to. It got a little bit of that Judas Priest feel from the much later years, where it's almost
what I was actually kind of thinking of when I saw the cover too. I was like, a little bit of Judas Priest.
For sure,
especially
for sure.
the colors in the background.
Yeah. Volcanoes are going off, and I think you'll definitely dig it. We're gonna make sure you get a copy, so you can continue for sure.
Thank you, and I will look forward to reading it. Whether I read it under a black moon, a red moon, or just confined to a corner underneath the blankets myself, whatever it takes. So I am one with the Succubus. I will happily get on that tour bus and see where it takes me. So I cannot wait. So, and that's perfect timing too, because I've only got a few more pages. I couldn't put this thing down. It has consumed all of my spare time, and I'm so grateful to know that there is more right after it. So it's that space between the second and the third one I'm a little bit worried about, but I think it'll be okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you were going to ask about, but a few things on, if you're interested, to hint at only. I just have a story, and I'll let Nikki share whatever she wants, but Slay Her, it was the title, and I do like giving like little background things where I get stuff. I think we pepper it all the way through. In fact, the songs we use in this one, a lot of them sometimes are just like a lyric we'd take and just weave in. But a long time ago, I would go see this cover band. It was actually called Shirley's Temple. It was all female band. And we got to know them pretty well, and we would go out, and of course we drink a little too much, and someone would yell Slayer constantly, because that's just what we did. I guess we were the hecklers, but in a nice way, if that's possible. And so when we started doing that, her response, the lead singer's voice, was Slayer. I barely know her. And I don't know why, but I thought that was the funniest thing ever at the time.
That's great.
Probably because we had way too many shots. And so I was like, how do I ever fit this in? And like years later, probably over a decade, well over a decade, because this was probably in 2004, I would say. This has become what I want to name this. And I don't know if I will ever see that band again, but Shirley's Temple, if you're out there, if you're watching, my dedication for Slay Her goes to you. Definitely. and that's what I have to say on the book.
That's so cool. And please tell me there's going to be bumper stickers for Slayer.
Oh, that's a good idea. So we did the concert ticket in the first one, and I was thinking, what are we going to do? Do I have it on me? I don't have one. I don't know if you have one, Nikki, but we kind of made a CD booklet for the second one that's going to go out. It actually looks like a CD insert. I came up with the lyrics. We like bounced things back and forth. They're not actually lyrics in the book. We did it way early because I don't know. We just like coming up with promo ideas.
So much fun.
Some don't. But I don't know. A bumper sticker is a really cool idea. I'm down if you are. I think that would be a good one to make.
I would buy one. I would totally put one on my car.
Awesome. Okay, that's a good idea then. I like that.
Especially if it follows it up with Hardly Knew Her.
That's going to be it. It'll be Slayer. It'll be like the pentagram logo that they have. I think we can kind of warp that for parody maybe, and they won't sue us. And I Hardly Knew Her has to be the smaller thing. Only when you're really tailgating someone can you see that part.
Exactly. If you can read this, you're too close, and I'm sure you can work something else there far cleverer than I can come up with.
I love it. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, guys. This has been absolutely amazing. You guys read like pros, especially the fact that you didn't even realize what the other was going to read, and then just found out pretty much on the spot. It sounds like that they just simply flowed well together. So that is pretty incredible. So before we park this tour bus and we're all kind of thrown off here, of course, after the demon has its way with us all, do you guys have any last thoughts at all on Corrosive Raven and why folks should pick this one up, whether they've read Succubus or not?
I think sometimes the end only makes sense when you've gone back to the beginning.
Oh,
excellent.
I like that. I feel very Lynchian, like it doesn't always make sense, but we had the ideas from the beginning. I think it still works because even if you took a long time in reading the first one, it's like basically a brand new story. I think you could still enjoy it even if you didn't know, because you basically meet three, like we read from Tanya's point of view, but there's still a whole section of two high school girls that are sisters that are going through stuff. And so it's all over the place. And so I think learning about these characters could be interesting regardless, but I think you get a deeper appreciation if you know the characters from the book. And I did find the CD case. So if you open it up, it does have lyrics, and someone made the insert for us. And so it looks like an old CD.
And now, is that going to go in special editions, or is that going to go into...
That'll be if someone buys it from us in person. We always try to have something, or if someone pre-ordered it, we'll sign and stick those in for sure.
That is fantastic. So in that case, I'll make sure that I put a link down below as well to your site and to yours as well, Nikki, so that anybody who wants to follow you guys, meet you in person, groupies aside, they'll be able to at least find you guys and be able to get this awesome edition of merch off of you.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, actually, this Saturday, we're going to be somewhere signing if we can do a plug. Is it just called the Mesa Mall Crawl, Nikki?
Yeah. Mesa Mall Crawl, I think it's as Superstition.
Yes.
So it's called. Yeah.
Superstition Mall. That's right. Yeah, it's called the Mesa Mall Crawl. So it's very specific. It's in Arizona. But if you're in Mesa or anywhere close, come down there. It's an older mall that probably we were going to in the 90s, I'm thinking. Like Spencer's. I think I spent a lot of time there. But yeah, there'll be a bunch of authors throughout, but they're going to be inside the mall. And so it's like you kind of crawl around and you meet all of them. So plug for that. We'll be there. And luckily the book showed up. So we'll have some copies.
Beautiful. Perfect time. And see, it's all meant to be. It's all meant to be. The Dark Lords are looking down upon us today, favorably. So, amen for that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much again, you guys. I cannot wait to get to the very end of the tour of Succubus so that I can get into Corrosive Ravens and then wait very patiently for the third one that's coming out. So that is going to be awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
You bet.
Bye.